Gaming is changing, technology is changing, and it's changing so rapidly. We're in the midst of this transition in gaming, and we're in the midst of this transition of gaming because of the changes in technology. Proof positive of this is the battle between different gaming companies, different apps, and Apple. Apple in particular. Now, make no doubt, Google has a similar issue on their hands, Android, where, they charge a lot and they have this walled garden. You got to go through Android and Google in order to get your apps on their applications, which at this point are probably monopolistic. Excuse me, let me take a drink of water. I want to be very careful here because I'm not these are monopolistic entities guy usually. However, what Apple is doing is just a bad policy. And so let's go through exactly what's happening. So this is over at The Verge. Let's talk about it. And then let's talk about, I've got some questions here that I wrote down. And let's just talk about what this means for the future of gaming. I think this is going to come to a head. It really is. And we're going to see some changes in the space as a result of this battle. Make no doubt, if you think this battle between Xbox and Apple, and it's not just Xbox and Apple, it's Epic and Apple, it's apps like Mozilla, for instance, it's Spotify. It's basically anybody that uses the platform that is Apple or even Google Play. This is going to affect you as a gamer, and it's critical. And you're going to see these giants go to battle that indeed they already have, and it will affect gaming going forward. So this is from The Verge. Tom Warren, who's fantastic, writes this, says, Microsoft says Apple's new App Store rules are a step in the wrong direction. Microsoft Xbox president criticizes Apple's EU changes just as the company is working on a new Xbox mobile store. So to catch you up, Xbox wants to be able to create its own mobile store app that it can put on Apple and Google, and then you can download your games, you can stream your games all through that store. What's preventing it right now is it's not worth it because Apple, every time Apple doesn't allow that, they don't allow a platform app because they would charge you for each individual game on that platform, and it just doesn't make sense for these companies to go through the Apple Store in that way. And as a result, there was a lawsuit, and the EU made a ruling basically saying like, hey, Apple, you can't do that. And then so Apple's implementing new rules, and the way that they're implementing it is almost more punishing. So let's go through this. Apple's new plan to comply with the European Union's tech regulations has already drawn criticism from Epic Games CEO Tim Sweeney. I pulled up his tweet. We're going to go over it. He's got a lot to say. He's very outspoken on it. And Spotify. Now, Microsoft is weighing in with its own concerns, calling the App Store changes in the EU a step in the wrong direction. That's what Sarah Bond said. Apple has proposed a new core technology fee for apps that want to operate on third-party app stores in the EU. It will require developers, get this, using third-party app stores to pay 50 cents for each annual app install after 1 million downloads. So 1 million sounds like a lot. You think to yourself, oh, I want 1 million downloads. In the mobile gaming space, 1 million is nothing. And it's downloads. Keep that in mind. So there's turnover rate. So I may have 1 million downloads, but I only have 50,000 active users. And there's just, this is the mobile gaming space. That's any mobile app space. There's that kind of churn and turnover in the space. So imagine now you have 2 million. That adds up very, very quickly. And Microsoft is not going after 1 or 2 million. They're going after 1 billion. They've said it publicly. They're going after hundreds of millions. I mean, Game Pass alone is rumored to be over 33 million at this point. So you can see how the cost incentive, how that crushes them if this is in. For each annual app install after 1 million downloads, Apple will also still take a 17% commission from the developers who choose to use third-party payment processors. Basically, Apple is throwing down the gauntlet and saying, yeah, you can't go around us. You're not going to go around us. Here's what Sarah Bond had to say. We believe constructed conversations drive change and progress towards open platforms and greater competition. Apple's new policy is a step in the wrong direction. We hope they listen to feedback on their proposed plan and work towards a more inclusive future for all. So before we get to Tim Sweeney's tweets on this as well, he has a very long tweet on this. Let's see what Apple's justification is. There's another article over here at The Verge. Who wrote this article, actually? Let me go up. Jacob. Jacob, what's his last name? I can't pronounce it. Castrenix. Jacob Castrenix. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Wrote this, and here's Apple's justification for this 50 € fee is that the company spends a lot of time and effort creating developer tools to make all of this possible. And those big apps are the ones that make the most use of its tools. In an earlier area of technology with Windows and Mac OS, platform operators offered... In an earlier area of technology with Windows and Mac OS, platform operators offered these tools for free because they recognized that it was third-party developers and their apps that made their platform worth using. Today, Apple seems to have realized something else, that developers need its platform more than it needs any one developer. And so even with digital marketing, the DMA, Digital Markets Act, cracking Apple's platform open, we're still stuck in a world of fees that feed back to Apple. I wonder if Microsoft would have a problem if you take that 50 cents and go to 10 cents, or you take that 50 cents and go to 5 cents. I wonder if there's a medium there. I mean, make no doubt when you're talking millions and millions of users, that's still a big cut. Also, they're still taking a percentage of all payment providers, third party or first party, it doesn't matter. Interesting, though. So there's Apple's perspective. So let's take a look and see what Tim Sweeney now of Epic Games has to say. Here's what he has to say. Apple's plan to thwart Europe's new Digital Markets Act law is a devious new instance of malicious compliance. Whoa, mincing no words. Boom. It's uppercut, right hook. They're forcing developers to choose between App Store exclusivity and the store terms, which will be illegal under DMA, or accept a new, also illegal, anti-competitive scheme rife with new junk fees on downloads and new Apple taxes on payments they don't process. Apple proposes that it can choose which stores are allowed to compete with their App Store. They could block Epic from launching the Epic Game Store and distributing Fortnite through it, for example, or block Microsoft, Valve, Good Old Games, or new entrants. I mean, when push comes to shove, I don't think Apple wants any competitions to its App Store. I hope all these companies are huge, by the way. Microsoft, Valve, Epic, you've got Mozilla. I'm sure you're going to have other people jump onto this because... it hurts the bottom line. And if all these entities get together, they could change the way this acts, or even force Apple's hand a little bit and say, hey, maybe here's a happy compromise. What if we do this? That's going to be interesting to see how it evolves, Bill. The Epic's Game Store is the number 7 software store in the world, behind the 3 console stores, 2 mobile stores, and Steam on PC. We're determined to launch an iOS and Android and enter the competition to become the number 1 multi-platform software store on the foundation of payment competition. 0 to 12% fees and exclusive games like Fortnite. Epic has always supported the notion of Apple notarization and malware scanning for apps, but we strongly reject Apple's twisting this process to undermine competition and continue imposing Apple taxes on transactions they're not involved in. That's the third-party payment provider there. There's a lot more hot garbage. Hot garbage in Apple's announcement. It will take more time to parse both the written and unwritten parts of this new horror show. So stay tuned. Interesting. I think, again, I don't think this is going away anytime soon. And I think this is proof positive that the gaming space, number 1, is absolutely ginormous. And number 2 is completely shifted. And so why are we even having this conversation? Because 10 years ago, we weren't having this conversation. 5 years ago, we weren't necessarily having this conversation. And really, it's gaming technology has changed. So first off, the rise of cloud gaming. So cloud gaming services like Xbox Cloud Gaming is changing the way games are accessed and played. It allows gamers to stream directly to your iOS device, directly to your Android device from the cloud, bypassing the need for powerful hardware like a console. And that's only going to continue to grow as the technology improves and increases, as internet bandwidth improves and increases. So that's not going away anytime soon, which is why I don't believe this fight is going away anytime soon. And I think we're going to see alternatives, laws being changed, or Apple and these companies, Apple changing its policy altogether, voluntarily, It'll be interesting though, because Apple kind of does have you, the number one platform in the world, along with Android. Android has you as well. You have to go through them if you want access to everyone's pocket, and that's the fact. I think this is also the other thing that has changed here is a sentiment in people. There's more of a push for open ecosystems, especially in the gaming industry and industry wide. I mean, how many games have we seen go open source, for instance? You have Valve coming out against this, and you see this competition for fees with developers. So Epic, Tim Sweeney said they want to compete and become the number one multi-platform software distributor by lowering their fees for everybody. And they can't do that if Apple is forcing them to pay these fees on their platform. So as a result of this technology and this increased push for open ecosystems, I think Apple's gonna long-term have to reconsider its approach to remain competitive and compliant with whatever laws come down on that. The next thing that has changed, I think, is consumer expectations and demand. I think there was a time that Apple could do no wrong. In the same way, there was a time that Microsoft could do no wrong. There was a time that Sony could do no wrong, right? I mean, the companies go through this honeymoon phase. I think that time is past for Apple. And I think modern consumers demand more freedom. Let me decide what apps I want to use without having to go through your store. Let me have apps that create features for me as a consumer that you don't prohibit on your platform. So that has changed, and I think that will continue to change, particularly as gamers get used to subscription-based gaming, as we get used to cloud gaming. We also have regulatory pressure. The EU's ruling is one of them. I don't think that we'll get something in the US. The US is a little bit more hands-off with that. Both good and bad, I think. I don't know all the details there, but I think you're going to see Apple and Android face regulatory pressure. Also, what if Android just says, you know what? Hey, yep, we're open up to everybody. Oof, what does that do for Apple? Does it force Apple to make a move as well? And then finally, we have advancements in mobile gaming that has changed, and we're gonna see more advances in mobile gaming. Cloud gaming is the biggest thing. But as big gaming companies, gaming's always lead technology. I mean, think about televisions. Gaming leads technology. Gaming's pushed televisions. And they're going to push the mobile gaming sphere as well, as these big game publishers and traditional game developers like a Microsoft, like a Sony, like a Nintendo, like Epic and Valve all jump into the fray here on mobile gaming. I think it's inevitable that something changes. How it plays out is going to be very interesting, but this fight is not going away anytime soon, so we'll see. Here we go. How could Apple's new App Store policies reshape the mobile gaming market, particularly with respect to competition? I think it kills innovation. I think Apple would own the innovation because they don't care about their own tax. Remember, they're a direct competitor in this space. They're creating they have their own gaming subscription service. And who cares? They don't care about their own tax. Like their own tax means nothing to them. It's not penalizing to them, but it's penalizing to these other companies. So, yeah, I think they could stifle innovation 100% if they continue with. I'll use Tim Sweeney's words. What did he call it? What did he call it here? I like the way he put it. He called it malicious compliance. I like that. Well said, Tim Sweeney. Malicious compliance. Yeah, I think they could absolutely stifle innovation in the gaming space. Ironically, isn't that so funny? Keep in mind, they're also developing, they're a VR headset, an AR headset. Gaming is going to be directly linked to those things as well. In what ways might Microsoft's planned Xbox mobile store offer a viable alternative to Apple and Google App Store dominance? I think the idea here is that if you can come directly to me, Microsoft, through an app, and we don't have to pay the App Store fees, then we can provide you better value. So that's Microsoft's plan, and we can go direct to customer. We don't have to go through the filter that is Apple and Google. We're still on their devices, but we don't have to go through their App Store necessarily. And I think that's correct. I get where they're coming from. I think that's correct in respect to if Game Pass is a value proposition, and that's what it is. That value proposition has to be there. And the best way to ensure that that's there, especially if you want to expand your user base, is to be on mobile and to do so at as cheap of price as possible. Last question. What are the broader implications for consumer choice and innovation in the app marketplace as a result of these new policies? The broader implication is how long is Apple and Google able to maintain this dominance over the majority of apps used on the planet today? It's a big question. It's basically open on PC. There's no Microsoft tax for developers, for instance, through Steam or Epic, and it's why they're able to offer whatever fees that they have in place. But if they go through Android or Apple, they have additional fees there that don't exist anywhere else. I think we're going to see long-term the App Store operate more like a PC going forward. I don't think we'll have this walled garden, but we'll see. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. Apple is one of the most powerful, one of the largest companies in the world. But so is Microsoft, for that matter. So the two giants are going to go at it. It'll be very interesting to see what happens here and how this goes through. I'd love to know what you guys think. Are you interested in this at all? Do you even care? As an Xbox gamer, do you just want to play your games? You don't care how you get those? Or is this interesting? I do think that this has implications for the future of gaming, on mobile devices, for the future of cloud streaming, 100%. So it'll be exciting to see what happens here, where it goes, and how it evolves. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am not an expert on any of this by any means. I can see the implications here. I don't know the ins and outs. I don't know the ins and outs of the laws. I don't know the ins and outs of the App Store fees that are there. I just know what all the different developer companies are saying, and there's a list. That list is growing of people who are outspoken on this policy from Apple. Again, I think the honeymoon phase is over for Apple. I own Apple devices. In fact, this is being recorded on an Apple device. I think they're fantastic, but this does seem very heavy-handed in my limited knowledge here. But would love to know what you guys think. If you like this video, if you like what we're doing here, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We cover Xbox news Monday through Friday on this channel. Love hanging out with you guys. Share it with your friends, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.